There are moments in life when everything grows quiet, when the noise fades and all that's left is the sound of your own thoughts echoing softly in the background. It's in those still moments that a question often emerges: am I truly living or merely existing? We chase success, collect distractions, and measure our worth by things that can vanish overnight. Yet somewhere deep inside we feel an ache, a quiet knowing that something essential is missing. Ancient philosophers, sages, and seekers all pointed to the same truth. Transformation doesn't come from the outside world, it begins within, in the way you see, think, and act. Today, we'll explore 7 ancient lessons, simple yet profound principles that have guided humanity for thousands of years. They aren't just ideas to be admired, they are habits of the soul. If you allow them, they can change not just how you think, but how you live. So take a deep breath, slow down for just a few moments, and let's journey together through the timeless wisdom of those who came before us and rediscover what it truly means to live a meaningful life. Lesson 1. The Art of Presence. Be where you are. In the rush of modern life, presence has become a rare art. We live half in the past, haunted by regrets, and half in the future, anxious about what might come. But the present, the only place where life actually unfolds, often slips quietly through our fingers. The Stoics called it living according to nature, aligning yourself with the moment that's right before you. Buddhists spoke of mindfulness, the sacred act of simply being here. Even the great Sufi poets sang, "Wherever you are, be the soul of that place." To be present is to step out of the storm of thought and into the stillness of being. It's not about erasing your past or ignoring the future. It's about recognizing that this moment is all you ever truly have. Imagine sitting beside a river. The water flows, endlessly changing, just like time. You can try to hold the water, but it slips away. The only way to truly experience it is to let it flow, to watch, to listen, to feel. That's what presence is. It's learning to let the river of life flow while you remain anchored in awareness. For me, practicing presence began as a small, intentional pause. Before opening my phone in the morning, I sat in silence, just breathing, feeling the weight of my body, noticing the light filtering through the window. At first, it felt uncomfortable, almost pointless. But slowly, that quiet moment became the most peaceful part of my day. I started noticing the details I once overlooked. The sound of rain on the roof, the way sunlight touched the leaves, the small, ordinary miracles that life hides in plain sight. Presence teaches you that happiness doesn't come from chasing more. It comes from seeing what's already here. When you are fully present, listening to someone, walking through a garden, drinking a cup of coffee, life feels richer. Colors seem brighter. Time feels slower. You begin to realize that happiness was never in the next goal, the next purchase, or the next achievement. It was hidden in the ordinary, waiting for you to arrive. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, "You cannot step into the same river twice." Everything changes. Every breath, every heartbeat, every moment, it all passes. To be present is to honor the fleeting nature of life. So, if you wish to transform your life, begin here. Put down the phone. Take a deep breath. Look around you and truly see. Because the secret to peace has never been in controlling the future. It's been in surrendering to the present.
Lesson 2. The strength of simplicity. Own less, live more. The ancient philosophers didn't measure wealth by possessions. They measured it by peace. Epictetus, who was once a slave, said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Thousands of years later, his words still echo, perhaps now more than ever. We live in an age of abundance. Every day we are flooded with new desires, more things to buy, more notifications, more goals to chase. We confuse having more with being more. But in our pursuit of everything, we forget the simple truth that the more you carry, the heavier you become. Simplicity is not about deprivation. It's not about renouncing the world or living with nothing. It's about discovering what truly matters and letting go of everything that doesn't. There's an ancient parable about a wandering monk who carried all his belongings in a small satchel. One evening, as he rested by a riverbank, a thief came to rob him. Finding nothing of value, the thief grew angry. The monk, noticing his frustration, gently handed him his robe and said, "If this brings you peace, take it." The thief ran away, bewildered. As the monk gazed at the moonlight dancing on the water, he whispered, "I wish I could give him this moon too." That story captures the essence of simplicity, freedom. When you let go of attachment, no one can truly steal your peace. I remember once clearing my room, sorting through things I hadn't touched in years, old receipts, unused gadgets, clothes that carried memories I no longer needed to hold. With every item I let go of, it felt as if a small weight lifted from my mind. The room didn't just look clearer, it felt clearer. That day I realized something profound. We don't just own things. Things own pieces of us. The mind mirrors the space around it. A cluttered room often hides a cluttered soul. But when we simplify, when we strip away the excess, clarity returns. We see what truly nourishes us and what merely distracts us. Simplicity also applies to our thoughts. We fill our minds with noise, opinions, comparisons, endless plans. But peace often hides in silence. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is nothing. To sit quietly, breathe deeply, and let the world move without you for a moment. Lao Tzu, the sage of the Tao, wrote, "To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, remove things every day." Modern life teaches us to accumulate. Philosophy teaches us to let go. When you begin to live simply, you start to see beauty in the small. A morning cup of tea, the sound of wind through trees, a sincere conversation. You stop running toward the next thing because you finally realize you already have more than enough. Simplicity is strength. It is not a loss, it is liberation. It teaches you that peace doesn't live in abundance, but in alignment. So look around your life, your space, your mind, your heart, and ask gently, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? And then, with courage and kindness, let it go. Because sometimes the fastest way to transform your life is to subtract, not add.
Lesson 3. The discipline of stillness, mastering the inner world. In a world that never stops moving, stillness has become a forgotten art. We are surrounded by noise, screens, voices, thoughts, plans, endless fragments of attention pulling us in every direction. And yet, amid that chaos, the ancient philosophers discovered a simple but powerful truth. Only a still mind can see clearly. The Stoics called it ataraxia, tranquility of the soul. In Zen Buddhism, it's zazen, sitting in pure awareness. And in Hindu philosophy, it's yoga chitta vritti nirodha, the stilling of the mind's fluctuations. Across all traditions, stillness wasn't seen as escape. It was seen as mastery. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his private journal while ruling the most powerful empire on earth, often reminded himself, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful than your own soul." He faced wars, politics, betrayal, yet he sought refuge not in control, but in calm. He understood that while the world may shake, your peace depends on your ability to stay grounded within. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it's the presence of awareness. It's what allows you to respond instead of react, to observe your anger before it becomes action, to feel your fear before it becomes paralysis. I once read about a samurai who was known for his calm demeanor. Even before battles, while others trembled, his eyes remained steady, his breath slow. When asked his secret, he said, "I fight my battles before they begin, within myself." That's the essence of stillness, conquering chaos from the inside out. Modern life conditions us to equate activity with progress. We rush from task to task, achievement to achievement, rarely stopping to ask, why? But stillness reveals something that motion often hides: direction. You can be running fast, but toward nothing. You can be busy, yet empty. When you stop, you see. And when you see, you understand. It's in silence that the voice of wisdom becomes audible, the quiet whisper that tells you what truly matters. I began practicing stillness in small moments. Sitting in my room at dusk, I'd light a candle, close my eyes, and just breathe. At first, it was uncomfortable. My mind screamed, my thoughts raced, memories and worries tangled like roots in the dark. But over time, the noise softened. I began to hear the faint rhythm beneath it, the pulse of existence itself. And in that quiet, I realized something profound. Stillness is not empty. It's full. Full of clarity, full of peace, full of truth. The ancient Egyptians described the human heart as a scale, and at death it would be weighed against a feather. Only a light heart could rise. To live with stillness is to keep your heart light, to release what burdens you and return to the simplicity of being. You don't need to meditate in a temple or climb a mountain to find stillness. You can find it in the pause before you speak, in the silence after a deep breath, in the space between two thoughts. Stillness is the root of strength. A person who can sit in silence without fear, who can face their own thoughts and not run, that person cannot be easily shaken because they have made
peace with themselves. So take a few moments today, no distractions, no noise, and sit quietly. Listen to your breath. Watch your thoughts rise and fall like waves. And remember, the world outside will always move, but your soul doesn't have to. When you master the inner world, the outer world loses its power over you.
Lesson 4. The power of acceptance, flowing with what you cannot control. There are few truths more liberating and more difficult than this. You cannot control life. No matter how carefully we plan, how hard we work, or how much we wish, life will always have its own rhythm. Seasons will change, people will leave, storms will come. And yet most of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from our resistance to it. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." In that simple distinction lies the foundation of peace. Acceptance is not weakness, it is wisdom. It's the realization that you are not the master of every wave, but you can learn how to sail. In ancient Japan, when a pot breaks, artisans don't throw it away. They repair it with gold, a practice called kintsugi. The cracks remain visible, shining with beauty, because they understand that the brokenness is part of the story, not something to hide, but something to honor. That is what acceptance is, the art of turning pain into wisdom. It's saying, this too is part of my journey. I remember a time when I was consumed by frustration. Things in my life weren't going as planned. Every setback felt personal. Every obstacle felt unfair. But one day I came across a line from Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Those words struck me deeply. I realized that life wasn't against me. The challenges were not walls, they were teachers. They weren't blocking my path, they were the path. That shift in perspective changed everything. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? I began asking, what is this trying to teach me? And with that single question, resistance turned into growth. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving or caring. It means you stop fighting against reality. You stop pouring energy into things beyond your reach and start focusing it where it matters most: your thoughts, your choices, your attitude. Buddhism calls this non-attachment. It teaches that clinging leads to suffering, whether it's to people, outcomes, or identities, because everything that begins must end. But when you release the grip, you discover something profound. You don't lose peace when things change. You lose peace when you demand they stay the same. There's a quiet freedom in learning to flow with life instead of against it, like a river that bends around the rocks instead of breaking them, like the wind that moves through obstacles, shaping them over time. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, "Water is fluid, soft, and yielding, but water will wear away rock which is rigid and cannot yield." True strength is not control, it is adaptability. It's the ability to remain gentle in a world that is rough. When you accept what is, you stop wasting your energy on resistance. You redirect it toward creation, toward healing, toward peace. You begin to see that everything, even the painful, has a role to play in your becoming. Acceptance doesn't mean indifference. It means faith. Faith that even the storms are sculpting you into who you're meant to be. So, the next time life doesn't go your way, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, can I control this? If the answer is no, release it. If the answer is yes, act with calm intention. In that balance lies freedom. And in that freedom, you'll discover a quiet kind of power. The power of acceptance, the strength of surrender, the peace of flowing with life instead of against it.
Lesson 5. The habit of reflection. Learning from the mirror of the mind. We spend most of our lives looking outward, chasing success, love, validation, meaning. But the wisest among us knew that the greatest discoveries are not made in the stars, but within the soul. Reflection is that journey inward, a mirror held up to the self. And those who dare to look into it with honesty begin to see life as it truly is. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." He didn't mean it harshly. He meant that without reflection, we drift. We repeat mistakes, follow the crowd, and live on autopilot, mistaking movement for progress. But when we stop and reflect, when we ask why, we begin to awaken. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. His meditations were not written for the world, they were written for himself. A dialogue with his own conscience. He examined his actions, his motives, his weaknesses, not to judge himself harshly, but to understand, to grow. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive." And at night, he would look back and ask, "Did I live with reason, with virtue, with peace?" Reflection is not about guilt or regret. It's about awareness. It's how you turn experience into wisdom. The world gives you lessons every day, but without reflection, they pass unnoticed, like rain on glass. In Zen practice, they say, don't seek the truth, just cease to cherish opinions. When you reflect deeply, you begin to see how many of your beliefs are borrowed, how much of your identity is made from noise. And as that illusion fades, what remains is something real, raw, and authentic, you. There's a story of a monk who sat by a pond every morning. One day, a student asked, "Master, why do you stare at the water every day?" The monk smiled and said, "Because only when the water is still can I see my reflection clearly." The same is true of the mind. Only in stillness can we see ourselves. In my own quiet moments, I've discovered that reflection can be uncomfortable. It reveals truths we've tried to hide, fears, regrets, insecurities. But it also reveals beauty, the quiet courage that got us through dark times, the kindness we gave without recognition, the growth we didn't notice while it was happening. Through reflection, we learn to forgive ourselves and to guide ourselves better. Try this. At the end of each day, before you sleep, ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? And what did I learn? It may seem small, but this simple ritual turns each day into a teacher. It transforms your life into a continuous dialogue between who you are and who you are becoming. The ancients knew that wisdom is not gained by age, but by awareness. Reflection gives you that awareness, the ability to see patterns, to break cycles, to walk forward with clarity instead of confusion.
When you reflect, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become a student of it. You begin to see that every experience, pleasant or painful, carries a message, and when you learn to listen, you evolve. So take time to look inward. Put away the noise of the world. Sit with yourself, honestly, gently. Because the truth is, you already hold the answers you're searching for. You just have to be still enough to hear them. Reflection is not an escape from life. It is how you begin to live consciously.
Lesson 6. The strength of detachment. Freedom through letting go. The more tightly we hold on to life, the more it slips through our fingers. We cling to people, to success, to our ideas of how things should be, and in that grip, we suffer. Detachment is not about indifference. It's about freedom. It's the ability to love without owning, to work without obsession, and to live without fear of loss. The Stoics taught that suffering arises not from what happens, but from our attachment to how we want things to happen. Epictetus said, "When you are attached to something beyond your control, you set yourself up for sorrow." In Buddhism, the same truth appears as the second noble truth, that craving is the root of suffering. Across centuries, across continents, wise souls have whispered the same message: peace comes from release. But letting go is not easy. We build identities around what we possess, our achievements, our relationships, our beliefs of how things should be. We cling to them because they make us feel secure, certain, significant. Yet all of it is temporary. The universe itself is in constant motion. Galaxies drift apart, mountains erode, stars burn out. How can we expect permanence in the small corners of our lives when even the cosmos is changing? There's an ancient parable of a man crossing a river. He builds a raft to get to the other side. When he reaches land, he lifts the raft onto his back, unwilling to let it go. A passerby asks, "Why carry what you no longer need?" The man answers, "It helped me once, I can't abandon it." The wise man replies, "Tools are meant to be used, not carried." That raft is every attachment we cling to. The job title, the past relationship, the idea of who we used to be. They may have served us once, but there comes a time to set them down, because the weight of yesterday prevents us from walking into tomorrow. In detachment, we find strength. We stop demanding permanence from a world built on change. We learn to appreciate things fully because they are fleeting. As the poet Rumi wrote, "Don't grieve, anything you lose comes round in another form." I remember a moment when someone I loved deeply drifted away from my life. At first, I resisted. I tried to hold on, to fix, to rewrite the story. But the more I held, the more pain I felt. Until one evening, sitting alone, I whispered to myself, "If it is meant for me, it will return. If not, it has already served its purpose." And for the first time, I felt peace, instead of emptiness. Detachment doesn't make your heart cold. It makes it calm. You begin to love without chains, to give without expectation, to act without desperation. You still care deeply, but you no longer cling, because you understand that everything, even yourself, is just passing through time. The Bhagavad Gita teaches, you have the right to your actions, but not to the fruits of your actions. That is the essence of detachment, to do your best and then release the outcome, to play your part beautifully and let the universe handle the rest. When you stop clinging, you don't lose anything essential. You gain peace, clarity, and space for what's real, because only empty hands can receive. So, let go of the anger that weighs you down, of the expectations that suffocate joy, of the illusion that control brings safety. In the letting go, you will discover something extraordinary, that freedom was never out there. It was always within you.
Lesson 7. The courage to live with purpose, walking the path of meaning. All wisdom leads here. To live well is not merely to exist, it is to live with purpose. The ancients understood that knowledge without action is like a flame hidden underwater. It can never give light. Purpose is not found in grand achievements or distant dreams. It is discovered in how you live each ordinary moment, in the choices you make when no one is watching, in the work you do with integrity, in the way you treat others when there's nothing to gain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Those words carry the essence of purpose. Stop waiting for clarity to come from the sky. Create it through your actions. Socrates called it arete, excellence of the soul. Nietzsche called it becoming who you are. And the Stoics called it living according to nature, aligning your life with your higher self, your reason, your duty to the world. Purpose is not a luxury for a few. It is a responsibility for all, because without it, we drift. We chase pleasure, distraction, approval, and end up feeling empty. But when we live with purpose, even pain becomes meaningful. Every struggle becomes part of something greater. Think of a candle. Its entire existence is to give light, and in doing so, it burns. Yet it does not complain, because in that burning it fulfills its reason for being. So too with us. We are not meant to avoid all suffering, but to find something so meaningful that even the suffering feels worthwhile. The Japanese call this ikigai, the reason you get up in the morning. It doesn't have to be something the world applauds. It can be as simple as raising a child with love, writing words that heal, creating something beautiful, helping one person live better. Purpose is not about what you do. It's about why you do it. The philosopher Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the concentration camps, wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." His life was proof that even in darkness, meaning can be found, and meaning can save us. To live with purpose is to choose direction over comfort, to wake up and say, "I may not control everything, but I will live this day intentionally." Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more souls on fire with conviction. And purpose doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's a quiet determination, a steady heart in chaos, a commitment to kindness in a cynical world. When you live with purpose, time itself changes. Each moment becomes sacred, each breath an act of gratitude. And even at the end of your life, you can look back and say, "I lived true to what mattered."
That is the courage of purpose. To walk a path that may be difficult. To stand firm in your values when it's easier to blend in. To live not for applause, but for meaning. Because in the end, the goal of philosophy is not to escape life, but to embrace it fully, wisely, courageously, beautifully. So ask yourself, what would my life look like if I lived every day with purpose? And then, take one step toward that answer. That is where the transformation begins. Epilogue, Fragmented Truth. 7 lessons, 7 mirrors of truth. Each one a reminder that wisdom isn't hidden in ancient scrolls. It lives in the choices you make, the peace you cultivate, the strength you build, and the meaning you create. To live with awareness, with acceptance, with purpose. That is the true art of living.
In the quiet after learning, there comes a moment of stillness, a silence that isn't empty, but full of everything you've discovered about yourself and everything that's been waiting beneath the noise. 7 lessons, 7 small lights in the vast night of existence. Waking early to greet the dawn of awareness, moving your body to remember that you are alive, journaling your thoughts to listen to the whispers of your soul, eating mindfully to honor what sustains you, silencing the noise to rediscover presence, embracing simplicity to live in truth, and walking with purpose to turn every breath into meaning. These are not just habits, they are ancient echoes, reminders from the philosophers, the sages, the seekers who came before us. They whisper the same truth, that wisdom isn't found in the distance, but here, now, in how you live this single day. You are not just passing through life, you are shaping it with every thought, every choice, every act of awareness. Your morning can become a meditation. Your struggles can become strength. Your silence can become clarity. The Stoics taught us that we cannot control the world, but we can control our response. And from that truth grows freedom. Freedom to act, to choose, to begin again endlessly. So if you've reached this moment, pause. Take one deep breath. Feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the miracle of simply existing. Then quietly ask yourself, what would happen if I lived by these lessons not just for a week, but for a lifetime? The answer may not come in words. It will come in how you wake tomorrow, in how you treat the people you love, in the calm you carry through chaos. That is the timeless path. The path walked by philosophers, monks, warriors, dreamers, and now by you. Because every day you rise with awareness, you are not just living, you are awakening. And that, my friend, is how you change the way you live forever.